Hi everyone, my name is Miss Casey and we're back with Fibo Kids Art Academy. Today I am going to be showing you how to draw a caricature. Now some of you may have heard of this, some of you may have even gotten your own caricature drawing done of you and your family. But a caricature is just a different type of cartoon. It's a style of cartoon drawing, and you can see here in my sample where I have a more realistic drawing here, and then in my caricature, a lot of the features of the person that you might be drawing are much more exaggerated. So even more so than a cartoon, a character, usually have big heads, maybe even sometimes big eyes, and certain features the caricature artists will pick from you that stand out, and they will kind of exaggerate that even more. So say the person that I was drawing, they had a little bit more of a wider, bigger chin. So I would draw that chin a little bit bigger. They have big, wavy hair, so I would draw that hair really big and wavy. So you really want to exaggerate those special features that on the person stand out. So for our drawing today, as you can see, we're going to be doing a drawing of a person realistically as possible. It doesn't have to be the best. We're not too worried about how the drawing looks. We're more worried and going to be focused on the style of the drawing. So we're going to draw as realistically as possible, and then we're going to switch over and draw a caricature of that same thing. So that way we can sit side by side, we can sit those drawings side by side, and we can really tell the difference between a more realistic drawing and a drawing that is more with a caricature cartoon style. Okay? So again, we're not too worried or focused on the actual drawing or making it super perfect. Caricature drawings are not usually focused on making it perfect either. Again, they're more exaggerating the characteristics of a person. They have sketchy lines sometimes. They have lines that kind of, are not perfect. They don't balance too much on either side. They're not worried about the actual drawing. They're more worried about getting those features out, because a caricature is more meant to be funny and again, make those features that stand out when you stand out in this drawing. So it's not meant to be perfect. It's not meant to be realistic. It's just meant to be fun, meant to be silly, meant to be funny. So we're going to really highlight that when we get into our caricature drawing. So what I'm going to be showing you is I'm going to show you a drawing that we are going to be focused on. The person that I'm going to be drawing in my reference photo. Now you can follow along with me, and you can follow the reference photo that I do. I'm not going to have my reference photo up the whole time because you guys are going to need to see my drawing, my desk view. So you can, again, if you're going to just follow along with me, you can just follow along as I draw from that reference photo, or you can look up your own portrait. You can, take a picture that you have next to you of a family, friend, you, sibling, whatever you want, and you can use that as a reference photo, or you can look up a random person and use that as your reference photo, and you can do your own drawing just like me, or you can follow along with me and do the drawing with me. Okay, so I'm going to show you the drawing real quickly not the drawing. I'm going to show you the picture that I'm going to be using. Okay, let's see here. So what I'm going to use is this drawing here. Okay, sorry, this picture here. And so you're going to see this. Let me zoom in a little bit. Again, you're not going to be able to see this the entire time, but you're going to see this as I draw the person out. Okay, but as we look at this reference photo, and the same thing when you look at your own reference photo, you want to think about those features that really stand out. When we draw someone realistically, we want to draw them as we see them. We don't really want to make anything in particular stand out too much unless it actually does stand out on that person. Okay, but let's look at this person and let's think about the features that they have already. They're unique features, things that are very special for that specific person. Again, you can draw a family, You can draw a friend, you can draw whoever you want, a random person, just look up a picture like I've done. But when you get that picture, just look. Okay, so he has, pretty small eyes. He has a very big smile, big grin. He has that wavy hair, so big wavy hair, and he does have that strong jaw. Men usually do have very strong, wide, square jaws. So if you were to see a caricature drawing of a man, you usually see the hair really big, the head really big, again, the chin really big, and then depending on the specific person, there might be a few more features that really stand out, like if they have glasses or dimples, anything like that that make that person unique. So now that we've looked at our reference photo, again, I'm going to be drawing from my reference photo, but you guys are going to only see my desk view. So if you're following along with me, you're just going to draw what I draw, and I'm going to break that down as much as possible. So that way you guys can follow along with me and draw what you can as realistically as possible. But you can use your own reference photo and you can draw that as realistically as possible. Again, we're not focused on making it super perfect. We're just focused on getting the idea behind a realistic portrait versus a caricature portrait. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come back to my desk here. All right, so now we can see the desk again. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on my desk. All right. So again, is our sample. This is what we're going to be doing today, a realistic portrait and a caricature portrait. So what you can do first is, for this exercise, we are going to need a piece of paper. It can be any kind of paper. We are going to be doing two drawings. So you can split your paper down the middle like I have done in this sample here. You can split it down the middle so that way you can have both of your drawings sitting side by side. Or if you don't really have much paper, then what you do is you can use two different pieces of paper, and you can draw your realistic drawing on one of the papers, and you can draw your caricature drawing on the other piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to be doing it on one paper, again, splitting my paper down the middle and having both sit side by side. So decide which way you want to go about it. Now the materials that we're going to be using today is just a pencil and Sharpie if you want to trace it afterwards and outline it. I'm only going to show you the drawing. Afterwards, once you have the drawing, if you love it so much and you really want to complete it, you can definitely color it in. If you are doing a side-by-side drawing, once you compare the two and you really see the difference between realistic and caricature, then you can even cut it down the middle so that way they are two separate drawings and you can color them, change them up, really make them look as different as possible. Maybe the caricature has really fun colors, whereas the realistic one is more, again, realistic. They have, brown hair, blue eyes, and then the caricature has green hair and red eyes. Really fun. Just have fun and get creative with it if you'd like. I'm not going to be doing a coloring step, but again, that's up to you. You can go ahead and push that forward at home after we go through our exercise. So I'm going to be using a Sharpie to show you my lines, so that way you can see the lines much better in this video. But I recommend you use a pencil first, and then again, if you'd like, you can outline just like I've done, and then you can color afterwards. So because this is going to be a pretty hefty drawing, we are going to draw a person, and people are not that easy. Anytime you need extra time, if you're following along with me, or even if you're doing your own drawing, if you just need a little bit more time before I move on to the next drawing of the caricature, or however you want to do it, if I'm explaining something, you just kind of need me to pause. This is a recorded video, so you are totally welcome to pause the video whenever you need it, and then you can play it again and catch up back to where we're at. Okay, there's no right or wrong. Just do whatever feels right, whatever you need, and I'll always be here. So to get started, I'm just going to split my paper down the middle. So I'm going to draw a line right down the middle here. All right. Okay, now that I have my vertical line and I've split my paper down the middle, I'm going to start in my realistic drawing. Okay, now again, I have my reference photo in front of me. You don't see it, so you can just follow along with me if you're drawing what I'm drawing, or again, pause this video if you're still looking for a reference photo, and then once you have your reference photo and you're ready to go, you can play it again and you'll be right where you need to be. Okay, so now that we have our reference photo, we are going to get started. Now, when you look at a reference photo and you're drawing realistically, again, you want to draw what you see as closely and accurately as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the contour, the outside of our person's face. Okay, so that is, the sides of the face, the chin, maybe even some of the neck and the shoulders if you see it. So that's what I'm going to focus on now. I'm not going to focus too much on the hair yet. So especially if you have a pencil, you can kind of just finish off the top of the head with a curved line. I'm not going to do that because I have a Sharpie. That's going to be a really big line that I'm not going to be able to erase. So I don't want to confuse you guys too much. But I'll show you guys once we have the sides of the face how you can connect that. So that way it doesn't look a little too weird when you don't have the hair just yet. So I'm going to start on the sides of the face. I'm going to kind of draw this curved line because the cheeks do come out a little bit more, especially with him smiling. And as far as in my reference photo, he has this big grin, so his cheeks come out a little bit more than if he was just kind of a serious face or just, staring blankly. So I'm going to kind of curve this cheek out a little bit more. Then I'm going to curve it back in to where the chin comes in. And again, he has a very big square chin, so I'm going to curve that down, but make sure that it, that squareness of his chin stands out. Okay, and then again, I'm going to kind of bring this up and out for the other side of the cheek. Again, it's really big because he's smiling. Bring it in a little bit as they come into the eyes. These are called your temples, right next to your eyes on the side of your head. And they usually come in a little bit more. So you have, your wide face comes out on your cheeks, and then it comes in when you get to the head, and then it kind of evens out when it gets to the forehead. Okay, so that's why I'm kind of keeping it straight on this forehead, and then it comes in as it curves up and rounds out at the top of your head. Now again, I'm not going to draw the completeness of his head because I do have the hair and I don't want to have too much lines that I'm going to need to erase and can't erase. So I'm going to leave that blank there. But what you can do if you're drawing with pencil is you can kind of just keep going with a round line like a rainbow to connect those lines. And then later on when you get to the hair, you just erase that line. Okay? So now that I have the outside of his face, I'm going to draw his neck. Now the neck usually comes right below that jaw. So you see my jaw, it comes right underneath. So I'm going to draw a curved line down and another curved line down. Okay, and another thing with drawing men is they have usually much bigger necks than females do. So again, I'm going to be drawing a man, but if you're drawing a female, draw what you see. So if her neck, if you're drawing a woman, if her neck comes a little bit closer in toward the chin, then draw that. Draw whatever you see as closely as possible to what you see and how you see it, okay? All right, so now that I have the neck, I'm going to draw, I see a collar. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that. I don't really have too much room to finish the whole part of his shirt, but I'm gonna add just a little bit of the collar so you can see that that's what it is, it's a shirt. So I'm gonna bring this in here for the inside of the collar, the part that kind of snaps in. Then I'm gonna kind of bring this out because it does come off. Whenever you have clothing, it comes off of your neck just a little bit so you see part of the inside of the shirt. And I'm going to bring this down for the sides of the collar, same thing over here. And then I'm just going to bring it in to finish up that collar. Okay. Outside of the collar, or sorry, the little ends of the collar. All right, so now I have my shirt, I have my neck, and I have my person's face. Now I'm going to go in and start adding some details. So again, I'm going to keep outside and I'm going to draw the ears. Now I have one ear over here, another ear over here. All right, so now I have my ears, and again, they don't have to be super perfect or line up symmetrically to each other. We're not really focused on how the drawing looks. We do want to try and get it realistically as possible, but don't worry if it's not perfect. Again, we're only focused on making this real, and then we're focusing on making that a caricature. Okay? So now I have my ears. I'm going to go ahead and add in my hair. So your hair, if you're drawing a boy, usually starts, obviously it doesn't start from your ear, but when you're looking at someone and you're drawing them in a flat two-dimensional surface, it usually looks like your hair starts kind of right above your ear. My hair is kind of covering my ear, but you might be able to see that hairline kind of comes right from the ear. Girls have long hair, so you see it finish up at the bottom of their ear, but men usually have short hair, so it will kind of only appear at the top of the ear. So with that said, I'm going to start the sides of my hair and kind of wave it up because he has that wavy big hair. Okay, and now I'm going to start adding those waves. He has really curly, wavy hair. Again, depending on what hair your person has, really try to get it as realistically as possible. If they have straight hair, just kind of figure out where the outside of the hair goes. Like my hair is pretty straight, so I have my hairline that kind of comes in the middle, and then it curves out to touch inside, right in front of my ear. And then I have the outside that goes right above my ear and follows on under my ear and right along the back of my neck. So just depends on who you have and who you're drawing. But if you are going to be drawing with me, we're going to start drawing his long wavy locks. So I'm going to start at the front top of his, right above his head, his forehead. So I'm going to draw this big curvy line here and finish it up here at the top. Again, we have that wave, so it kind of ends at a point. I'm going to draw another one here, but make this even wavier at the end. I'm going to curve that in. All right, and then I'm going to have another curve here, and I'm going to bring this one up and over. Okay. Now I'm going to draw the outside of the hair. So I have a little curve here, another little wave here, another wave here, and finish it off there. So I have these waves here, and I'm going to bring them in to the middle of the hair because his hair is so wavy, he has kind of individual waves. Okay, so I'm going to kind of chunk up those waves. So with this one here, I'm going to bring that in. This one, I'm going to kind of separate a little bit more and bring that down. Then I have some more individual waves that I'm going to finish up here. Okay, so now you can kind of see more chunks of those waves. And then if you'd like, it's totally up to you. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for the person that I'm drawing. And again, we're doing it as realistically as possible. But once, if you're doing someone else, if you're doing another man or if you're doing another woman, once you have kind of the contour, the big shapes of the hair, it's up to you if you want to add, individual strands. If you definitely see it, especially if hair kind of falls in the face, like if mine were to come right here, you would want to try and draw those individual strands. But if you don't really see it, like with the back of my hair, you may not really be able to see those individual strands. Maybe if you were to color it, that would kind of show up a little bit more. But when you're drawing it, you don't want to go in and add every single hair. That's way too much detail, and it usually doesn't look the best, and it doesn't look how you would expect it to. I'm going to go in and add kind of a little bit of like little chunks of hair here and there to kind of incorporate that he has this that wavy hair, and it kind of comes in a little bit. But I think that's it. I think, the waves, the locks of hair stands out enough, and it looks wavy enough. And so I think I'm going to stop right there with the hair. But again, it's your drawing, so it's totally up to you, as realistically as you think you need to go. All right, so now that I have the outside contour lines of the face or of the head of my portrait, now I'm going to add the details inside, so inside the face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of map out where my eyes, nose, and mouth should be. Now, if you've done a portrait with us before, you may have learned with us that the eyes go halfway down the face, so right in the middle of the face. You may not think it because we have, more area down here than our forehead. How does a nose and a mouth kind of fit in a forehead? But we have this extra space up here where our hair is, and that also counts for the top of our head. So if you were to incorporate that and do middle to middle, that is my whole head. It's a little hard to show you guys, but the eyes do go in the middle of the head. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw curved line here like a rainbow to show that that's where his eyes are gonna go. Okay, so you can just draw plain simple rainbows, and then the more that you look at those details in your reference photo, then you can go in and kind of add more specific and unique features for the eyes that that person has. I'll do that in a minute when we get to the more specific features of the portrait that I'm drawing. But I'm just gonna kind of lay those out there, those rainbow lines. Then I'm gonna, usually the nose will go halfway from the eyes to the bottom of the head. So halfway in. So I'm gonna draw about halfway in, a little curved line, little letter U for the tip of the nose. That's usually where it will go, is in the middle between the eyes and the chin. And then same thing for the mouth. The mouth will usually go in the middle between the nose and the chin. So I'm going to draw a little curved line to kind of show where that would be. Now, the person that I'm drawing has their mouth open. So if the mouth is closed, that line will usually represent the middle separation line of your lips. But since my mouth is open, I'm going to place it where I think the bottom of the lip would go. Okay? Because this mouth is wide and it's open. Now, depending on the person that you're drawing, they may have closed mouth. So again, you would want to place that mouth line right where the middle separation line would be for your lips. All right, so now I've mapped out the eyes, nose, and mouth. Now I'm going to go in and kind of get all of those features down. So I'm going to start in the eyes, and he has very small eyes, and he's squinting because he's smiling so big, so they're kind of closed even more so. So I'm going to kind of bring this in a little bit. I'm going to make this a little bit straight and bring it in. Same thing with this one, I'm going to bring it in and then curve it out and make this straight. You can see just a little bit of his eyelashes at the corner of his eyes because he's squinting, it kind of points down. So I'm going to add just a little bit of those eyelashes here. Okay. And now I'm going to draw the inside of his eyes. Now, I do see he has blue eyes, but I'm not really coloring right now. I'm not really too focused on the color of his eyes. So I'm just going to add the curved lines for the eyeball, a little highlight, because he does have a highlight that I can see. Okay, but I'm not too worried about the pupil or the iris, the color of the eye. So I'm just going to kind of leave it very simple shapes for now. All right, now for his eyebrows, kind of has very bushy, hairy eyebrows. So I'm going to add a little bit of hair in the beginning. Then I'm going to kind of just block it out. Men usually have very thick eyebrows. I'm just going to kind of block it out. They're not usually too well shaped. They usually are a little bit more hairy. So, but we, again, just like our hair, we don't really want to focus too much on the individual strands of the eyebrow, the hair of the eyebrow. So I'm just going to block it out into a simple shape. It is realistic enough for me to know those are his eyebrows. That's the general shape of his eyebrows. But I'm not going to get too realistic. Again, if you were to color this, then you definitely can go in with more detail in your colors. Okay. Now he also has kind of this like bone structure that's coming out from his temples. So I'm going to add in just a little line to show that shape. Again, because he's smiling, sometimes when you smile, your face does different things and it will add different kind of lines or features on your face that you don't always have. Okay, so now that I have that, because again, he's smiling, His nose is scrunched up, so I can see a little bit more line in his nose. All right, and his nose kind of stands out a little bit more on the left side here. So I'm going to make that a little bit more prominent. Whereas the right side, I'm just drawing one little line to show the outside of that bridge, but that's all I'm going to draw. And for the nostrils, let's see. Usually nostrils are dark. I'm going to kind of make the ends a little bit thicker to show that that's where the nostrils end. And then I'm going to add this line here for the end of that nose and this line here for the end of that nostril. This one I'm showing for it to be connected because again, that's kind of where a lot of more of the shadow stands out in the reference photo that I'm drawing in his face. So if you have more of a prominent side, more of a side that shows more edge and shadow, then you would want to make that stand out a little bit more because that helps define those areas like that nose. Okay, so now that I have the nose, next, I'm going to draw his big mouth because he's smiling so big. Okay, so I have these smile lines. That helps me kind of determine how wide his mouth is. Okay, so I have these big smile lines, and then I'm going to draw the top of his lips. Now, he has very thin lips, especially because he's smiling. Like you can see in mine, when I smile, my lips get even thinner. Okay, so he barely has any lips at the top. Then I'm going to draw the bottom of his lip here. And again, I'm going to match it up to the line that I had made earlier. Okay, so that is meant to be the inside of his mouth. So it's the top lip and then the inside top of the lip at the bottom of his mouth. So I'm also going to add just a little line here to show that that's where the bottom of his lips are. Usually for men, they don't have two their lips are not as defined as females are, so you usually don't see their lips too often. And then again, as you can see here, I just drew a little bit of the bottom of the lip because then they kind of disappear at the end. But he also has, again, that big square chin. So I do see a little line here for where his chin kind of curls up since he's smiling. You can kind of see underneath that lip there. Okay, so now he, again, because he's smiling, you do see a lot of teeth. When you draw teeth, it can be very, very tricky. And it's almost similar to hair. You don't want to draw every individual tooth because it kind of makes them look a little weird. So rather than thinking about the shapes of individual teeth, think about more of like the blocks of color, the shading around the teeth. Okay, so I'm going to worry about the shading at the top where the gums are and the bottom where kind of that gap between his top teeth and his bottom teeth are. Okay, I don't see any of his bottom teeth. I only see the top teeth, so that's all I'm going to worry about. Again, this is realistic, so we only draw what we see. But, see, I see a little tooth there. I'm going to draw the bottoms of the teeth. I'm just going to kind of curve them. Okay, so there's the bottom of his teeth. And then to show that they're individual, I'm just kind of coming along the top. And anytime I see some shadow or some color, it's usually where the teeth separate in your gums. You can kind of draw that out. Make that shadow a little bit darker right along those edges. Usually in the corner, you have much more shadow, especially when you're smiling. You can kind of see in here. I'm not too big, but you may be able to see that it's much darker, especially with the contrast of my teeth. Okay, and then again, right along the bottom, I see a lot of shadow because his teeth are separated from the bottom of his mouth, bottom of his teeth. So I'm going to kind of add that in. You may even see a little bit of shadow at the bottom. where his teeth separate. Add a little bit of that. But there you go. It's very simple. We're not too worried about drawing every single line for each shape of the teeth. We're just more worried about the shadow, and I think we've got it. Okay. So now that I got that, next what we're going to do, I did draw the eyes, so I'm actually going to fill those in too. Again, I'm not too worried about the irises or the color part of his eyes. I'm just kind of block that out. Okay. So now that I have those big shapes of color and I've colored in, added the sparkle, things like that, I'm going to go in and add just a little bit more detailed lines because again, he's smiling. He has a little bit of extra lines that we may not have seen if he wasn't smiling. Okay. Now, when he smiles, his jaw actually picks up and becomes more prominent. It kind of separates from the cheek. So that bone there kind of really stands out. So I'm going to draw this line here to show that. Okay. All right. But looking at the portrait, I'm just adding a couple more extra lines to make the portrait look more realistic. Lines that I see. Simple line there. Let's slow down a little bit more. All right. I think that looks good. Now he does have a beard and some facial hair, so I'm going to add just a few lines. Again, I'm not going to, make it super individualize each hair. I'm not going to make it super, super realistic, but I am going to show that that's there. So I'm going to add just a little bit of texture lines to show he has some facial hair there. Just adding some lines. All right, great. So that shows that he has facial hair. I see all of the main details that I need. Looks like a realistic portrait of this person that I drew from my reference photo. So I think I am done with my realistic portrait. Now, again, if you drew this with me and you need some extra time, go ahead and pause the video where you're at, and then you will play it and be right where you need to be as we move on to our caricature drawing. If you're doing a completely different portrait and you need that extra time to finish up your realistic portrait, definitely go for it. Pause, and then I'll be right here waiting for you for your caricature drawing. All right, so for those of you that need to pause, go ahead and do it now. For those of you that are with me, or once you come back from pausing, now we're gonna work on our caricature drawing. Now, we don't really need our reference photo now that we're done with our realistic portrait, because we can use our realistic portrait as reference to figure out what are those main features that kind of stand out on this specific person, and how can I exaggerate those features to make a caricature drawing of that person. So with your realistic portrait, what you can do, using your pencil or using a marker or using a Sharpie, however you want to do it, we're going to kind of list out some major features that we see. Now, if you don't really want to ruin your portrait because you worked so hard on it and you don't want to add any words or anything like that to it, then you can just use a separate piece of paper and just kind of make a list of certain features that you see in the portrait that you drew. And I'm just going to go ahead and write it right on my portrait here. So what I see first and foremost, as we've already discussed, is big, wavy hair. That's definitely something I really want to make stand out in the caricature. I think that will be really fun. Now, another thing, he has a big square chin. So that's something that will definitely stand out as well. Again, usually with caricatures, caricature artists normally draw the head already pretty big, and then the body is usually a little bit smaller. Again, that's just the exaggeration, the playfulness that caricature drawings have. So that's just a given. So we're just gonna automatically do that with our caricature drawing, is have a big head, small body. Okay, another thing that he has, let's see, is he has a big smile. Okay, now in your portrait, if there's anything else that stands out to you, again, if the person has glasses, if they have certain, lines in their face, maybe it's an older person, so they have wrinkles, again, maybe they have dimples, anything that really stands out on that person that you're drawing, if they have, maybe hair accessories or earrings or anything like that, you can really make those certain items stand out. What makes them unique. Think about those things as you're looking at the reference photo or as you're looking at your realistic portrait now that you have it. Think about those things that really make that person stand out. You can write a list right on your portrait, or you can write a list on a separate piece of paper. But once you have your list, then you're going to think about how can you make those features, those characteristics, exaggerate them, and how can you make them stand out. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to think about the head and how big that chin, how big I want to make it. Okay, so again, he has a very big chin, it's very square, so I'm going to kind of make that stand out. And for those of you, if you drew this reference photo, reference realistic portrait with me, then you're going to follow along with me in the caricature drawing as well. Now, it doesn't have to be specifically how I do it. If certain things stand out to you a little bit more, you can definitely change up your caricature drawing to showcase those features a little bit more than what I'm doing. But I am going to show these three things a little bit more than all of the other features that this person has. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw the sides of his face and then really stick out that cheek because he's smiling so big in my caricature. And then I'm going to make that chin really square. Again, really make that cheek stand out. Okay, so that's what I'm doing with him, is I'm having his cheeks really, really wide, his chin really, really square. I'm going to kind of finish off the side of his face here, though. His chin and his cheeks are just kind of popping out of his face. And again, that's just the fun playfulness of a caricature. You can kind of really make it however you want and just play with it, and it will be super fun and funny. And it's not meant to make fun of anyone, like I said. It's just the playfulness of it. You're really making these features stand out. You're more so telling the person that these features are so unique. You really want to just make them bigger. You really want to just show them how much they're so important to this specific person, how unique these features are. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm gonna finish up the rest of the body. Like I said, the body should be pretty small. You're not really focused too much on the body. You're more focused on the face and those features. Unless, you can see a little bit more of the body and they have some fun accessories you really want to play up and exaggerate. But I'm just going to make the neck, again, pretty small because it's a caricature, so the body's a lot smaller. All right, I'll draw the collar of this guy. Now I do see a little bit more face, so I'm going to add a little bit more of his shirt here, but that's all. I'm done with that. Add just a little extra lines there, but done with his body. Now focusing on his face. So I have the sides of his face. I made those cheeks, the chin really square. Now I'm going to finish up the outside line. So I'm going to add the ears. And again, I don't really have to work on anything too realistically. So I'm making those ears just a little simple C shape. Okay. Then I'm going to draw the hair, and I'm going to make the hair really big and curly. Wavy, nice and waves, big waves. Ooh, have fun with it. right, so I have those waves, maybe add a couple of extra, detail lines in the hair if you'd like, but like I said, I don't recommend you doing any individual specific amounts of hair. All right, so now that I have those waves nice and big, it's a lot more simplified than my realistic drawing. You're not focused on the real look of the person. Again, you're more exaggerating it. So get those really big curls. If you don't have room for many curls, then you just make the curls that you can draw as big as you can draw them. Okay, so now that I have the outside of my lines, I am going to draw the inside of my face. Okay, so again, with this, you don't really have to focus on the real proportions of a person's face. If that helps you kind of map it out and draw, halfway on the face is the eyes, and then it goes the nose, and then it goes the mouth. If that helps you, definitely do it. But with a caricature, again, everything is not meant to be perfect. You're more focused on exaggerating the features. So I'm not going to map anything out this time. But I'm just going to focus on the features. Any of the other features that you're not really exaggerating, you don't have to really draw them as realistically as we did in our realistic portrait. You can just keep them simple, very simple shapes. It's totally up to you, but that is usually what a caricature drawing does. It's just kind of, again, very simple. Making the nose a little bit funny here. Okay. Then I'm going to add eyes, and I'm going to make the eyes just pretty simple. Not too focused on the eyes here. I am going to add in those eyelashes. Just draw the curve lines for eye. An eye sparkle here. Goes in. My eye sparkles are pretty small if you, on your caricature drawing, like I said, usually some of the eyes that caricature artists draw are really, really big. So if you want to make those eyes stand out and you want to draw them really big, go for it. You would want to make those highlights really, really big and stand out as well. Go for it. All right, and then I'm going to draw eyebrow, and again, just kind of keep it very simple shape. Okay. Now that I have that, I'm going to draw this big mouth and smile. And I'm going to keep it a much simpler shape and teeth because, again, it's not realistic. I don't need to focus too much on individual teeth. I'm more focused on that big smile. I'm just going to show he has big pearly whites. Maybe make this bottom look a little bit thicker so that way it does show like a little extra shadow. Add in a bottom lip here and add that big chin there. All right, so now that I have those features, I'm going to add in some extra detail lines like for the ears and curve a little bit more. I'm going to add in the facial hair that he has, and then I think I'm done. So again, if you're still working on your drawing, definitely pause if you need extra time. Take a look at mine if you are following along with me, and you can take as much time as you need to follow the drawing that I have here. But I'm just going to kind of go in and add just a little bit more lines for the facial hair. All right. And yeah, I think I'm good. I'm done. I've got the features that I wanted to make really big. I've got, and he looks like a caricature drawing. It definitely does not look like his realistic drawing, but you can kind of see the similarities, and you would be able to maybe tell that it is from the same person. Now, if you've ever gotten a caricature done of you and you've seen yourself, you're like, I don't look like this person. It's not meant, again, it's not meant to be realistic. It's not meant to be perfect. You can have sketchy lines in it. If you've seen a person's caricature, they usually have sketchy lines. They have, maybe things that are not symmetrical or not perfect. It's just mainly getting those features that stand out on a specific person and exaggerating them even more so, and just having fun, being silly. And yeah, so I hope when you guys are doing this, you're having fun with it, you're being silly, you're being creative, and definitely show your family, your friends. If you drew a family or a friend, that would be great. Maybe you can give this to them as a gift, or maybe a birthday that's coming up, anything. But it is a lot of fun to do, and so I hope you guys take this and what you've learned and practice even more and do more portraits, whether they're realistic or caricature. So with that, I am going to make myself just a little bit bigger. And again, just to review with you guys, today we did a caricature drawing, which is usually just getting features of a person that stand out and exaggerating them even more just to be fun and silly and have a very cartoon style drawing. That's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this exercise. I definitely enjoyed teaching it. And if you guys end up doing this and maybe you want to color it to make it a complete final drawing, or if you do more, definitely share with us. We would love to see all of the amazing caricature drawings that you guys come up with. So if you would like to share, please do so on our Facebook page at Fibo Village. And you can let us know that you did your caricature drawing. You can let us know who it is, and we'd love to see that. If you liked this exercise, and please like the video below. You can also subscribe and click the little bell for more notifications on all the videos that we post. And stay tuned for more art exercises, art fundamentals, vocabulary, art history, creative drawings. It'll be a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you and take care.